Supervisor Brandau back in.
Okay, just
Item 24 is under
clarification.
Supervisor Brandau. Adopt an amended resolution establishing a parents' matter approach to reviewing age-appropriate children's books in Fresno County Libraries.
Just a clarification to the members of the public. Today we'll allow 30 minutes on the topic and 2 minutes per speaker. So the time is 25 minutes to 11. Yes, sir. Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Drew Harbo. I represent P-Flag Fresno. According to the National Coalition Against Censorship, censorship happens whenever some people succeed in imposing their political or moral values on others by suppressing words, images, or ideas that they find offensive. This act demonstrates the truth that you don't have to ban a book outright in order to suppress or restrict the ideas, information, knowledge, and stories within it. And I'll actually allow the ACLU sent to a really good letter with relevant court cases that I'll defer to. In this last meeting, Supervisor Brandau, you stated that this resolution does not, quote, target the LGBTQ crowd, as you called the human beings of my community. But in the very next breath, you revealed that only 3 out of the 7 examples that you had up with you that day weren't about our community. And that leads to the question, what about the other 4 out of 7? That's almost 60% of the books that would target the human beings of my community. Every kid, every human being deserves and has the right to be able to find stories and information about themselves and their families in the shelves of our public libraries. We did a survey. I have that data here to share with you. I've shared it there. This is just a few of the piece of information with that, along with a few of the quotes added on from And I asked folks, the second page of that is the most enlightening. I asked people, do you trust the review board created by the Parents Matter Act would act in a nonpartisan way free of ideological motivations regarding the content it would sequester and restrict access to? And people said 100% no. I fear it would act in a politically motivated way. And I asked people if they thought it targeted the LGBTQ crowd. 98% of people, once you add it up, I think, said that they believe that it does target my community. Mr. Mendes, there's no amendments that can be made to this act to change the fact that it is censorship, pure and simple. I urge you to vote no on this. Allow all the voices of this beautiful community to stay on the shelves.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm a voting resident of Fresno County and a retired educator. I rise today to oppose the Parents Matter Act because the Fresno County Library already has a process in place where parents can file a grievance regarding any book in the library's collection. Librarians are professionals trained to not impose their own thoughts and opinions on which ideas are right, but to make knowledge and ideas available so that the people have the freedom to choose what they want to read. The appointed committee is not trained in the evaluation and selection of materials to meet many community needs. Parents have the right to guide their own children's reading, but parents do not have the right to make decisions for other parents' children. Specifically, this small group of parents or adults should not dictate what books or materials other people's children can read at any age. Please reject any efforts to sequester, challenge, or ban books and allow individuals and parents to make the decision about what they can read and believe. Please reject the Parents Matter Act. I ask you specifically, Supervisor Mendes, to vote against this act. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Sarah Smith. I'm the district librarian in Sanger, and I live in Clovis. I believe that the committee established by the Parents Matter Act is nothing short of government overreach, and simply put, would bog down the library in bureaucratic quagmire. There is already a policy in place for both the selection and reconsideration that is done by trained professionals. Let them do their job. Parents and concerned citizens should follow the current procedure in place instead of creating an additional unnecessary procedure that circumvents and would be at odds with the current established process. Further, the appeals process established in the amendments asks the committee itself to reconsider without any external input. In what context does an appeal straight back to the original body have any hope of being fairly reconsidered? The current reconsideration policy for the library has an appeals process that does not relegate the challenge back to that body. So I urge the board to vote no on this unnecessary piece of legislation that will only make librarians' job harder. I further would like to read a passage from one of the books that Supervisor Brandau brought forth as one of the challenges. No matter who we are or what we like, how we feel, how we dress, and what our bodies look like, we all deserve love. We all deserve to be loved, protected, and respected. Unfortunately, not everybody agrees. Some people don't believe that all humans should have the same rights. Throughout history, there have been laws, rules telling people how to behave. Women have been told that they shouldn't wear pants, fly planes, run a marathon, vote. Men have been told that they can't take care of babies, be scared or sad, become a nurse or a flight attendant, clean the house. Do you think these laws and rules are fair? Thank you.
Hello, board. My name's Artemis Gidram. I'm a trans woman, and I just want to tell you what it was like growing up as a trans girl, as a trans child in the 90s, in which we didn't have these resources, or at least I didn't know where to get them. And that's really what this comes down to, is when you deprive children of resources, they will find their own resources, and those resources are never good. I had to go, and what I ended up doing was going on the internet, and I looked up items that ended up being pornographic, much more pornographic than what Mr. Brandau showed. Several weeks ago, I talked to predators on the internet because they were the only ones that would engage with me in a way that felt comfortable with me, and I put myself in a lot of danger. And a lot of people like myself and a lot of people in my community put themselves in that danger. Myself, fortunately, nothing bad happened to me during my childhood, other than having to have my innocence ripped away, because that's how I had to learn about myself. Others aren't so fortunate. Others have bad things happen to them that I won't mention out loud. Others have themselves end up not living through their childhoods. And this extends to their friends. It extended to my friends as a child. My friends didn't have resources on who I was either, and they treated me differently for it. They treated me like I was weird, like I was different, like I didn't belong. And it took a very long time for me to understand who I was because of it. You are harming children with this. It is not an okay thing to pull resources away from children who need it, who need to understand who they are, who their community is, and to feel loved and appreciated for who they are. Thank you, board.
Good morning, Chairman Quintero, fellow members of the board. My name is Diane Pierce, and I am a member of the Clovis City Council. However, I am not here today representing either the City of Clovis or the City Council, but I do represent hundreds of parents and grandparents who reached out to me over these past many months expressing their concern over this specific issue, and who have recently reached out with their support of the Parents Matter Act. And so I am pleased to have the opportunity to bring that support to this body today. I also want to point out that there were a number of people who were able to attend the meeting a few weeks ago where this item was initially introduced. They were not able to get off work or make the time to be here today, but I do appreciate the opportunity to speak for them as well. What is so great about the Parents Matter Act is it truly is the common sense solution to respect the rights of parents on both sides of this issue. The parents who want their children to have access to this material control that access. The parents who have concerns about their children's access to this material also have that control because of the Parents Matter Act. In regards to the current process that people can take in the county library system, it works if you have a single item to address and express concern about. We've identified a more widespread issue, and I think this Parents Matter Act allows for a more widespread solution to addressing controversial material and seeking its review. I also thank the members of the board, Supervisors Brandau, Magsig, and Mendes, for your votes in support of the issue last time, and I hope that that support will continue, as again, this is the common sense way to respect all parents' voices in this matter and make sure that our children are protected. Thank you.
One thing I would ask, as different speakers come up and share opinions, please keep your opinions to yourself. It's important that the speakers have an opportunity to share what they have to say to our board, so please respect that. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the board and staff. My name is Karen Bosch-Cobb. I was your library director from 2003 to 2010, and I've been affiliated with the library for over 50 years, so I know what works and what doesn't work. I'm here to give you 6 reasons why you should oppose this resolution. First of all, it's unnecessary. The library has long had a collection policy in place. It's something that's carefully studied and researched in order to make sure that we have materials that represent all members of our community and that our collection represents a wide range of viewpoints reflecting a very diverse community. All materials are selected by professional librarians. Second, from time to time, parents do have concerns about a particular book. In that case, there is a procedure, as has been referenced, for people to submit a complaint. Staff take these complaints very seriously. They research them, and each person receives a response. I'm sure that will continue despite the volume of complaints. So with these 2 things in place, I think that our library has had for over 50 years that I'm familiar with a procedure for handling all this. Third, parents have the right, indeed the responsibility, to help their children select library materials. And libraries like to see that process happening in librarians. Furthermore, a parent has to sign for their child to get a library card. Fourth, as it has been mentioned, you've received a letter from ACLU and 3 other Freedom to Read foundations opposing this, calling out violations of First Amendment, referring to a censorship regime, and other points related to access. This letter raises the possibility of a lawsuit. Fifth, your support of this measure could endanger the renewal of Measure B, which provides 50% of our library's funding and requires a 2/3 approval. If the voting public disagrees with your viewpoint, you risk not obtaining that 2/3 thing. And finally, there's already a recruitment problem in our library for professionals, and especially at the higher level, and this is likely to exacerbate that. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Crow Fitzpatrick. I am a trans person. I live here in Fresno. When I was in high school, I found a book in my library called Stone Butch Blues. And it was the first time that I read a book with a trans character. And that book did not make me trans, but it did give me hope because it made me have a word for who I am. It helped me know that I had a community and that I had a history. And in 1933 in Germany, there was a giant book burning. And the books that were burned were books from a library about sexuality and gender identity. And from that book burning, a librarian was inspired to create the Library Bill of Rights to try and fight the suppression, censorship, and banning of books. And our history is repeating today, and libraries reflect our community. And no matter what policies you create, you will never legislate us out of existence. This is fascism, and we stand against it. Thank you for your time.
Good morning, my name is Erica Leonard. As a mother who homeschooled 2 children all the way, K through 12, relying heavily not just on public libraries, but on a devoted community of homeschooling parents, some much more conservative, some much more liberal than myself, all of us together finding common ground in our shared commitment to preserve and protect our right to parent and to educate our children without government intrusion. I'm appalled, not just by what I see in this document, but by the apparent rush and lack of due diligence that has brought us to this spot today. I want to believe you have done your homework. Regarding the potential costs incurred to defend this county from litigation filed as a result of passing this, to manage yet another committee, because making a government committee volunteer doesn't make it cheap. Perhaps most breathtaking is the number 11 parents What do you see in this county? Over 1 million people, thousands of families so rich in culture, heritage, history, language, tradition. What do you see that could inspire confidence? That 11 volunteers have what it takes to make parenting decisions for them all. The good news is you have the opportunity now to pause. You have a system in place that includes a clear, simple request for reconsideration process that allows parental freedom for all Fresno families and that protects children by honoring parental responsibility. Every parent in this county deserves to have the freedom that I had as a homeschooling parent, and they also have the responsibility that I carried to protect my children in public spaces. Freedom and responsibility, both, that this legislation takes away from all but 11.
My name is B. My pronouns are he, they. I've lived in Fresno all of my 21 years. I was born here and I was raised here. I love my hometown and I love my community, but now I stand here in an attempt to convince you that stories like mine are not inherently inappropriate in any way, shape, or form. We are people, and our stories deserve to be told just as much as anyone else's. What we're seeing here is the assumption that gay inherently means sexual and is therefore inappropriate for young readers. But that is a false assumption that removes all tenderness from the queer experience. To quote Justin Richardson, who, with his husband, wrote the book Tango Makes Three, which has faced many similar complaints, bans, and restrictions, that's when you know we're dealing with projection. Adults who are projecting their fantasies onto this book. When you get an adult of a certain generation and you say homosexuality to them, their association is men having sex with men. That's simply where their mind goes. What we've tried to explain is your 4-year-old does not have that association. And by the way, that association isn't in the book. It's in your imagination, end quote. Our public libraries are places of education, not of personal political agendas. We come to learn, not for religious indoctrination. You are not educators. You are not librarians. Your personal opinions and religious beliefs should not be an excuse for you to abuse your authority in order to restrict the education of local kids and families. We will not stand for the erasure of queer people, stories, and history. To any people in this room who may still be on the fence, I implore you to educate yourselves on why the existence of queer people and the knowledge of said existence is not harmful to your cisgender heterosexual children, but instead protects LGBTQ plus children who are already 4 times as likely to attempt suicide as their peers. And if that number continues to rise, the blood will be on your hands.
Good morning. My name is Elise Higgs. I've lived in District 2 my entire life. First of all, I am embarrassed and appalled that with all of your time, money, and resources that you have, you choose to spend it on something like this. This resolution is morally abhorrent and a naked attempt to ensure that children do not learn about gender identity and sexual orientation, other than heterosexuality. The motive behind this is obvious. If we take the power out of the hands of college-educated, formally trained librarians and put it into the hands of a handful of parents to deem books age-appropriate or inappropriate, then we can easily make sure that homophobic and bigoted ideas are still instilled onto their children, thus in reinforcing a homophobic and discriminatory society. If this were truly about protecting children, you would have done your research, which shows that LGBTQ youth are at higher risk of self-harm and suicide ideation, and hundreds of young children and teens lose their lives every single day. When they cannot learn about themselves through literature and media, they will find it somewhere else, and they will learn that they are isolated, alienated, and abnormal. If this were about protecting parents, then the notion of letting a handful represent the voices of hundreds regarding books their children get to have access to would appear counterproductive. In fact, the resolution says that it's critical that parents or guardians of younger children, rather than the government or any other identity, are able to make decisions of the type of content that their children are exposed to. This Supreme Court case that was cited in the resolution, Miller v. California, is regarding pornographic sexual content, not ideas of love, acceptance, and diversity. You would be hurting the children of Fresno County if you pass this resolution, and there will be political and moral consequences.
Good morning. I'm a constituent from Mr. Brandau's district. I want to remind you all that historically, the folks who push to censor public's free access to information have not been the good guys. They know they benefit from restricting public access to information as it allows them to control narratives, manipulate perceptions, and suppress dissent. By eliminating exposure to diverse viewpoints, they can shape a singular narrative that sustains their authority. Vice Chair Magsig mentioned your oath to uphold the California State Constitution. I would like to remind you that Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution emphasizes the right to free speech, which is a fundamental component of intellectual freedom that libraries uphold. The state constitution, by promoting individual liberties, indirectly contributes to the notion that citizens should have access to a wide array of information, including public libraries, which already have a tried and true process for reviewing materials. Sequestering books to a restricted section is censorship and historically a step towards book banning. Equally important to the principle is the principle of parental rights. Parents, not the state or well-intentioned committees, have the primary responsibility to guide their children's intellectual development. And your parental rights end where mine begin. I have the right to make informed choices based on my family's values. And let's not forget the 14th Amendment, cornerstone of our Constitution, which guarantees equal protection under law for every citizen. And the libraries have continuously upheld this. That means that my values get to be on the shelf along with your values. In conclusion, let's trust the existing system for materials review designed to address these concerns and respect the right of parents to parent their own children and uphold the principles enshrined in the California State Constitution, the 14th Amendment, and the right side of history. Our public library stands as a testament to enduring strength of these ideals. Thank you.
Hello, Board of Supervisors. Socorro Santillan, Director of Public Affairs for Planned Parenthood, and a mother of a young non-binary person. I'm here to urge you to vote no for the Parents Matter. And I'm here to ask you to be realistic of what you're actually voting for. The fact that, I keep going back to that little saying, if it looks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. This is a book ban. Don't fool yourselves to make yourself feel better about your decision. These are our patients at Planned Parenthood, and we are here to advocate for them. We know personally from their interactions with them and from going through their health care with them that there is enough violence and challenges and discrimination of them. This resolution only continues to build an exclusion of them and the gap between our society of who they are. As the mother of a young person who identifies as non-binary, basically what that has told me is she chooses to love somebody based on who they are, not what they look like or what their birth certificate has decided that they are. And my biggest fear when they came out to me, it wasn't that they were non-binary, but how the society was going to treat them. It scared me exactly of what you're doing, of excluding them and make them feel that something is wrong with them. And that's why we gotta hide these books, right? No. When you started this meeting, you started with prayer. Yep. But what hypocrite starts the meeting with prayer and then says, let's hide these people because they're different, because we're scared of them, because they're gonna get us all to be gay. That's being hypocrite. Follow God. God did not create and did not make mistakes. These are your loving children and they're part of the society. Protect them.
Hi, I'm Sandra Ayal. I'm a parent, so I matter to you. I'm a grandparent, and I matter to my grandchildren. I'm a teacher, a retired teacher, and teachers matter. Children matter. Our Constitution and our freedoms matter. I believe in the freedom to read. I read banned books. I go to the library during banned book week and I search the books and I discover topics and ideas that I hadn't known. This is America. It is un-American for you, Mr. Brandau. I live in your district. I am so ashamed that you brought forth this proposal. It's un-American. It's unconstitutional. It's unneeded. I trust librarians. I know librarians. I know they're trained just as teachers are trained. Teachers wouldn't want someone looking over their shoulder at every book that's read. No, we've gone through the State of California Adoption Committee. That's where our books come from. We get books from the library. That's where our enrichment books come from. We don't need professional people. Your librarians are professional people. You've hired them because they know how to run libraries. You're showing disrespect for those people when you say they need to have someone looking over their shoulder. Vote no.
Good morning. My name's Kim Fox Christensen and I live in Clovis. I am 56 years old and I realize there's a lot I still don't know. One lesson that I have learned very well, however, is that when you make decisions based on love for your fellow human beings, it's the right decision. The Parents Matter Act is not based on love. It has the fingerprints of fear and ignorance all over it. It comes to us under a guise of protecting children, but seeks to start a committee that would pick and choose which children are to be represented in the children's section of Fresno County Libraries. Fresno County's own website states, quote, "We respect all persons and recognize that there are diverse viewpoints. Positional power will not determine a strategy or preferred outcome, merit will. Viewpoints from diverse constituencies will be proactively sought to ensure the best possible outcomes for the community." In addition, I wonder if the board has the power to insert its will into the library system, since the board's mandate states, quote, "The board may not direct or control the day-to-day operations of a county department or otherwise limit the exercise of discretion vested by law in a particular officer." Parents are always encouraged to engage in their children's reading choices. Sometimes, a parent may have a question or concern about a book, so there is already a system in place, as has been mentioned several times before, if an objection to a book is raised. By suggesting some new concept of review, you are directing and controlling day-to-day operations of a county department where professional librarians maintain order. Also, if you agree that viewpoints from diverse constituencies will be proactively sought to ensure the best possible outcomes for the community, allow the already agreed upon system to work. Please act out of love for our children, all of our children. Thank you for your attention.
Hi, my name is Grace Miller, and I'm a resident here in Fresno. I'm here to speak against the Parents Matter Act and this attempt to create a review board for children's books. The Parents Matter Act is a shameful attempt to censor books that represent LGBTQ issues and people. Parents and children should have access to these stories, and children have the right to see themselves reflected in the literature available at the library. LGBTQ youth live in our community. Youth in our community have parents, siblings, grandparents, aunts, uncles who are part of the LGBTQ community. And these youth deserve to see themselves and their families represented in the books at the library. They deserve to see their family members represented in the books at the library. Book bans are cropping up across the country as part of a larger attack on queer and trans youth. By banning children's books that represent queer and trans people, you send the message to LGBTQ youth that they should not exist. But they do exist, and they should be celebrated and loved and allowed to check out books at the library that they can see themselves in. Thank you.
Excuse me. Our 30 minutes is up. I'll hear 2 or 3 more comments, and then we'll bring it back to the board. So 2 or 3 more.
Hi, my name is Annie Nguyen. I'm here to urge you all to vote no on agenda item 24. I think that a lot of the people here have already made the points that I support and that I wanted to make as well. I just think that it's cowardly to try to silence perspectives or books that we don't agree with. And that disagreement is coming from a place of a lack of education. I'm pretty sure you all come from a different generation where stuff like this wasn't made available. And I think that it's heartbreaking to see grown adults be so scared of children's books, to be quite honest. On a more serious note, growing up in Clovis and having had trans classmates and friends, there was always this notion of fear, of being afraid to go to certain public spaces because they won't be guaranteed respect or simply safety. And I think it starts from childhood. I think it starts with destigmatizing different people. And frankly, I don't have more to say because I feel like everybody's already made their points, and I feel like if you're not going to listen to that, then we'll just keep coming back and we'll keep writing letters, we'll keep making comments, we'll keep sending emails, and if you don't listen, then eventually we'll vote you out. Thank you.
Thank you for giving additional time. My name is Brooke Payton, and I want a library in the Tower District. One of the reasons I want a library in the Tower District is because I want another safe space for everyone. That means that books that represent everyone should be available to everyone. And yes, there are children who need to have access to books that you may find inappropriate for your own reasons, because those children need to know that it's okay to be themselves. I do want to state that I am deeply concerned about how you will select people to be on this committee, because I'm sorry, Mr. Pacheco, but you have 2 vacancies on the Citizens Review Panel B, and you are getting a brand...
Just please address the board as a whole.
Sorry. If...
That's okay, but I'll address that because it's not a
Okay.
question, but there's 2 vacancies because no one's on the list to apply. Check that out.
Okay. Then
You
how
can't
are
appoint
we...
somebody who's not there. Mr. Chairman, if you would, just give her 10 more seconds. She's running out of time.
I feel very sorry that no one has volunteered. And it makes me worried about who is going to volunteer, how they will be expected to show up, how they will be given their power to vote. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, you'll be the last speaker.
I'll be short. I'm Dr. Lenny Villagomez-Reeves. I'm a parent. I'm a grandparent. I spent 20 years in the ER at Valley Children's. Anyone who thinks that one of the top 1,000 problems of Fresno County youth is reading too many and too diverse books has not yet begun to think. And I urge you to vote no on this. Everybody else has given the reasons. It is so inappropriate to have a board of political appointees trying to exercise censorship over a library system, that the fact that there are no qualifications for this board, that this is a blatant abuse of power, that it's unconstitutional, that it's illegal, that it's going to submit a county to lawsuits. Those things are almost irrelevant. You should vote against this because it's a bad idea. Thank you.
Two left, Supervisor Pacheco convinced me.
My name is Virginia. I'm a resident of Fresno in District 3, and I'm a librarian at Fresno State. The following statement is my personal statement. Supervisor Brandau has stated this resolution is not a ban and not targeting any individual group, but this is the same supervisor who this summer proposed the Fresno County Flag Ordinance, which removed pride flags from all county properties. If this resolution is passed, it will be queer, black, and brown stories removed from the children's section because it always is. Whatever intent this resolution claims, the impact will be racist and anti-LGBTQ. Libraries are not neutral. We can and must condemn hate and discrimination when it happens. And whether or not this resolution is passed, libraries will continue to provide all patrons with access to stories, and efforts from the Brooklyn Public Library and Seattle Public Library are providing youth across the country with national library cards that are giving them complete access to their digital collections. With 30,000 Fresno residents at risk for eviction and over 4,000 residents who are unhoused, this resolution poses a waste of time and taxpayer money in an effort to limit public access to resources, rather than investing in a living wage and health insurance for our healthcare workers and an end to houselessness and the crime of poverty. Thank you.
Surprised I got up here. My name is Madison Neild. I'm a transgender woman. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a resident of Fresno and a registered voter in District 2. This proposal to restrict access to certain affirming and life-saving resources in our libraries, resources having to do with gender identity, is inserting government into the lives of families. It is telling them what they can and cannot access in an institution that is publicly funded with our taxes. If you are wondering why these resources are life-saving, look at how many transgender and non-binary children disproportionately turn towards substance abuse, become homeless, or consider or attempt suicide every year because they don't have support or access to helpful information. This argument that we need to protect our children from these subjects is a false one. Yet the argument is being made that some of these books sexualize children and that gender identity is controversial. Sexuality is not gender identity. Gender identity is not controversial. The kids who are at the ages we are talking about here have no concept of sexuality, but they do have a concept of their gender. And they and their families should have easy access to books and resources that have been openly displayed on our library shelves for decades. The examples that were used for this argument, that these resources are controversial or sexual in nature, have been completely taken out of context, and it seems the only people who are bringing sexuality into this conversation are Brandau, along with a tiny minority of parents who are pushing for this assault on our freedoms. They are using transgender and non-binary children and their families as weapons to score political points. For the parents out there who don't want their children to be exposed to these resources, they have every right to censor that information from their own children. But this board nor those parents have the right to keep our families from accessing resources that are desperately needed by those in our community. This is nothing more than government overreach. And one more observation. For those on this board who generally align themselves with conservative political philosophies, one that says government is the problem and not the solution, you sure are turning that on its head. It's absolutely hypocritical to support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you all for your comments, well taken, and thank you for your conduct as well. Very much appreciated. With that, I'll bring it back to the dais and turn it over to Supervisor Brandau.
Yeah, really, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a lot to add really today. We've heard this for the second time. It's been a lot of exposure in the media, and I don't think we need to rehash a lot of issues personally. I felt like there was a lot of misinformation today, but I don't feel like it's going to be valuable to for me to cover all of that. At our last board meeting, Supervisor Mendes wanted to see his amendments in writing to make them legit. They are in the form that we're voting on today. And so I'm just going to make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Any other comments from the Supervisor Mendes?
Question, Dan.
this committee will be a Brown Act. We'll have to follow the Brown Act, correct?
The
Right.
procedure provides for that. I
Right, so
believe.
there has to be.
Notice
a-
meetings. and
Notice meetings, there has
agendas.
to be a quorum.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Brian? No comment?
No, I think as Supervisor Brandau said, the debate was last time. This is a formality for the amendments that Supervisor Mendes asked for, and I don't think it's pertinent to relive the discussion, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you like a roll call vote on this item?
Yes, okay, we already have a motion and a second to approve this item, and now I'll ask for a roll call.
Supervisor Brandau?
Yes.
Supervisor Magsig?
Aye.
Supervisor Mendes?
Aye.
Supervisor Pacheco?
No.
Chair Quintero?
No.
3-2, motion carries with Supervisor Pacheco and Chairman Quintero voting no. We now move to item number 10 under the Board of.
Very well.
Shame on you!
Shame! Do your jobs. One person spoke in approval of your damn bill. One.
This used to be a democracy.
Item number 10, clerk.
Item number 10, Board of Supervisor Committee